Warning, the material you're about to be exposed to is foreign. The minds of individuals who are limited in their capacity to understand the actual reality and power around them, just as you and everyone else alive currently are. What you're about to hear are opinions, suppositions, like gospel or scientific truths, not infallible certainties. Brace yourself for incoming opinions that could confirm or deny your preferential view of the reality of power. Brace yourself for fallible material, fallible opinions, and values reflected, but nonetheless variably firmly held. We do not apologize to anyone we offend. We do not apologize for daring to express our views and impressions of what we believe is and what we hope to see. We will keep talking so long as we are able.
And now, Frico attempts to talk about the news without freaking out.
That is the plan, ladies and gentlemen, which I endeavor to do for you today. I endeavor to change that -3 to a 1. We're going to go from -3. That's the new math. So I don't have to work my way up. I just automatically get all the negative. I could be at -29. And if I successfully make it through a show without a freak out, that -29 will go to 1. So that's our goal, ladies and gentlemen, to get back on the path to break our world record of 21 shows in a row without freaking out. That's what this whole show is about, really. It's not. But it is. But it's not. What is the show going to be today? Well, if you're looking at the top right corner there, top right corner there, you'll see the title of the show, The Golden Age of TrollMerica. That's what we're going to be talking about today for Frico Talks the News on Tuesday, June 9th, 2020. We're going to talk about removing the money protection from cops who lose lawsuits. Mycroft AI prepares to expose patent troll patent. Phakery, allegedly. Man, you know what? I got to read that right. I'm sorry. I can't let that slide. Mycroft AI prepares to expose patent troll patent fakery. Allegedly. Red blood cells get artificial upgrade. And Cowskin shatter Dead Sea Scrolls assumptions. And this is a new little feature I'm going to have here. It's we're just going to do a little tag read here just to mess with your heads. These are all the things I'm reading here. You're going to hear about it today. Justin Amash. Qualified immunity. Mycroft AI. Patent trolls, IP trolls, intellectual property, HELIOS, Healable, low field illuminating, Optoelectronic, Stretchable, Benjamin T, Weezoo, C, Bakery, Brinker, artificial RBCs, Qumran caves, probably not saying that right, Dead Sea Scrolls, and Dead Sea Scrolls DNA. That's what's coming up. Get your daily Frico updates at, just enter your email and address and register for daily updates today at frico.com/daily. Let's get to our first segment of the show here, which is going to be our headline segment, which we're going to start recording in 3, 2, 1. This is talk headlines for Frico Talks the News on Tuesday, June 9th, 2020. Our top headline, removing the money protection from cops who lose lawsuits. Libertarian Party Congressman Justin Amash has revealed a new bill he is sponsoring that would remove what is called qualified immunity for police. The Cliff Notes version is this. It will effectively remove significant levels of liable, specifically monetary, protections from police who find themselves on the wrong end of a civil lawsuit. And this really, it's complicated. It's always complicated, although everybody wants it. They always want you to think in black and white because it's much easier to herd people off into these particular enclaves of absolutarian rabbitism. So in this instance, you have people that have kind of an aversion to the notion that when people with guns who are allegedly representing whatever political factional arrangement exists in the land, in America, for here, I'm Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. In Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. In good old Bethlehem, PA. The police are beholden to and representative of the authority of the land, which is the Bethlehem mayor, the Bethlehem City Council. So when they go out and they go beyond their duties in a bad way, and individuals say, yo, dude, I get me some money for that, and they take these folks to court, what ends up happening is the people who are the victims, in a sense. If you have a police department that has police, now I understand you could do your best job out there and you're still going to get sued. If you have any type of audience, you're going to get sued. You can almost guarantee it. If I build an audience, I'll get sued. Everybody will get sued for something eventually. And the police departments, most assuredly, even if they do everything right, they're still going to get sued. So I don't want to say just because they're sued that is the bellwether that says, wow, there's something fundamentally wrong with this police department. But police departments that get sued regularly, and especially for doing violent things to citizens who are innocent, then you have a systemic problem. So now you're talking about your own government that is set up an institution with guns to do its bidding and hasn't trained its institution in the limits of its power. And when it fails to do that, it pays the cost, but it doesn't ultimately pay the cost because it's not dealing with its own money. The money comes from you and I. So the police, even if they lose, they don't lose. They have no consequence. No real... Well, there is consequence, but in the main, the consequence is largely the time that they have to sacrifice to attend the trials and meet with their lawyers and whatnots. But other than that, there will be no real consequence for the vast majority of police who violate our physicality outside of the parameters of a job for a peacemaker, a peacekeeper, in a Bill of Rights society. They don't act like people from a Bill of Rights society. Now, it's complicated in that you're saying on one hand, you are saying that why should I have to pay for what my government does to me? And that's the problem with democracy, I'll say. the mob democracy, which I think we've mostly devolved to, is even if you are one of the few that is actually really working for this particular government to exist, you vote, you actively are involved in campaigns to get the current government in power. In Bethlehem, it's largely Democrat at this point. It used to be more split, but it's more Democrat. So it's largely the Democrat Party, really, that you're putting in power. So you have I think you're culpable. Why should you complain that your taxes go up when you are the ones that voted for this very system? And you know what? Even as you complain about it, you're still going to press the button for whatever party you're still championing, if that party is the party in power. But it gets tricky and thick and complicated, because what about the people that openly rejected this government and did not give legitimacy to it? What about the people that don't give legitimacy to the form of government in the first place? Why should they have to pay for your decisions? So really, if you really want to break it down, I would suggest that in an intellectual exercise only, this is not even remotely realistically possible. It would be horrible to try to implement this, but just a little intellectual exercise. The real culpability here is only the cops themselves, the police departments, and the individuals that supported the government that made all of these things possible. Nobody else should pay a dime. And the cops should pay, but where you get into a sticky wicket is, especially within our nation-state parameters. We're talking about within the nation-state parameters. We're not talking about fricos. Consensuality parameters because they don't exist in nation states. You can have little windows of consensuality and cooperation that is highly consensual in nature, but that's about the best you could do within these nation state parameters. But within these nation state parameters, the rules and regulations are such that if you put people out there to govern using arms and you put a liability upon them that they have to pay, unless you have, if you just remove all protections, for instance, you just remove it all altogether, you're not going to have police departments. No one in their right mind would continue to be a police officer. The Buffalo, for instance, the Buffalo emergency police, whatever they were, those folks resigned not in solidarity with the marches and the movements. They resigned because the Buffalo police basically announced that all the cops, all their liability protections were essentially removed. So they were like, no. And that's the problem. The problem is if you remove all protections from police, you won't have police departments, which is fine by me. But it doesn't work in a nation-state parameter. You'll eventually have police. Well, you might not call them police. I know. Milwaukee's talking about replacing their police with therapists or psychologists, or I don't know, social workers or something. I don't quite understand it. I've looked into it a little. I don't understand it. But what's going to happen is these folks are going to get their butts kicked. They're going to have physicality occur to them. I can assure you, if you're going to send them out as often as you send cops out, and you probably will, are you going to have them patrol people for speeding in neighborhoods? I mean, I think that unless you're dealing with residential areas, the whole speed patrol stuff should be done away with. That's a whole racket in and of itself. Basically it's a method of control. It's not really about catching speeders. It's about creating opportunities for police to monitor suspicious activity. And if you do anything that is outside of the orthodox parameters, that's enough to be warranted suspicious activity. Not a healthy environment. Now here's the excerpt from fee.org. To curtail police impunity, Representative Justin Amash announces legislation to end, quote-unquote, qualified immunity, unquote. Libertarian Congressman Justin Amash recently announced that he is readying legislation to end the legal doctrine of qualified immunity. Amash plans to introduce the Ending Qualified Immunity Act sometime this week in order to restore Americans' ability to obtain relief when police officers violate their constitutional secured rights. Amash, who briefly flirted with a presidential bid for the Libertarian Party nomination in 2020, very briefly, elaborates in a Twitter thread as part of the Civil Rights Act of 1871. Congress allowed individuals to sue state and local officials, including police officers, who violate their rights. Starting in 1967, the Supreme Court began gutting that law by inventing the doctrine of qualified immunity. Under qualified immunity, police are immune from liability unless the person whose rights they violated can show that there is a previous case in the same jurisdiction involving the exact same facts in which a court deemed the actions to be a constitutional violation. Wow. What a wonderful way to, I mean, like I said, though, it is complicated. In point of fact, the Supreme Court recognized, listen, man, we got to invent some way to give these people protections, because if we don't, you won't have police departments. Now, I'm not saying what they did is right, and I'm not necessarily saying you should protect police departments, but if you support the nation state, then you should support some form of police department, and you have to have some degree of liability protection from police. You have to have some, or you can't nail anything down with words, but you have to at least have some attempt to make it at least difficult, really difficult for someone to use the ghost in language to find a way around the law. You're right, but be that as it may, you have to have parameters that offer some protections up to a certain point. So if you have violations that go beyond a certain measure, whether you consider it assault or whatever your parameters. If what you did, maybe if it matches a felony crime, then maybe your protections are removed. But people suing cops for handling them too rough, and you could see the evidence not really all that great as far as, I mean, it's while what may be circumstantial evidence, whatever it might be, you can't have cops. I mean, what will happen is everyone will sue cops if you just remove the immunity wholesale, which I'm happy to give it a try. I'm totally happy to give it a try. I think in the suburbs, I think in the counties, out there in the rural county areas, I think people can do just fine without cops. The problem is in the cities, and we'll see what happens. But I would suspect the first thing that has to happen, if you're going to get rid of police, you need to get rid of the gun control laws, and then I think that the leadership will emerge and people will begin to do the type of policing that should be done. Not the type of policing that's going around looking to fund itself and the government that it represents, but the type of policing that's actually looking to limit the ability of people that are thugging to thug on people that are not thugging. Actual peacekeepers instead of revenue generators. So I'm not going to read the rest of this thing. I think I said all I need to say about that. You can read Justin Amash's letter at freako.com. That's going to be the end of this segment. Some of the places that all the places that I get my stories from are the news aggregate sites that I run myself. And one of those is newsalight.com. The glitz, the odd, the under the radar, the hard to believe. Here are some of the top stories today on newsalight.com, which you can go and read. Tech companies should strongly consider monetizing their patent portfolios during the economic downturn. Human equality shouldn't be an optional belief. South China Sea crisis. Pressure mounts as Beijing increases forceful tactics on rivals. CEO of patent troll Vernet X sued for nepotism, self-dealing. New York Times editorial page editor resigns amid backlash over cotton. Send the troops op-ed. And finally, Senate bill seeks to create National Police Misconduct Database. And don't forget to tip your Freako at freako.com tips. Oh boy! Hey, I got through that right in a timely manner. So I think that I'm getting a little bit more disciplined in trying to keep things focused. I'm really, I guess what I'm really doing with my show as I've been developing it is been using the feedback of some key folks, especially my wife. I'll put my brother in second place, my twin. But my wife, bigly, bestest and bestest bigliest, shout outs to the wife. I'm basically trying to make a show that my wife wants to listen to, because she has a lot of similar interests to me, so she is kind of my target audience, and not just, well, yeah, she's part of my target audience. So the type of show that I really, really, really want to make might not necessarily be a show that anybody would want to watch, so I'm making compromises. I love going off in tangents. I love unrelatedness in general. I love just goofing. And people watching news, even though I'm calling it a news art, I got to put something up here to remind everyone this is a news art, so maybe that'll help expand their expectations of how they might get the news. But the news delivered in a kind of a free, weird way. Like, I would be much weirder. So I'm working on trying to keep as much weird into this show without cutting myself off from the possibility of having my voice heard at all by anyone of any real numbers. So to that end, I charge forward, and we'll record the next segment. Let's get that primed here. All right, we're going to begin in 3, 2, 1. This is the Dialectical for Frico Talks the News on Tuesday, June 9th, 2020. Today's Dialectical, no patent trolls! Well, that's not the name of the Dialectical, but that is the thing on the image here. Mycroft AI prepares to expose patent troll patent fakery. Allegedly. I gave you the quick Cliff Notes version before I get into this. Mycroft AI is going to be suing the company, well, counter-suing, I think. Right now, they're filing for a dismissal of VoiceTech Corp's patent lawsuit against them, and the Mycroft AI CEO is alleging that VoiceTech Corp's patent that it's claiming Mycroft AI is violating, even though it doesn't specifically say how, is really just an assemblage of other people's patents that they put together and passed off in the patent office to get something that enabled them to go out and sue everyone. And, well, that's the Cliff Notes version. So there you go. That's what we're talking about here. Somewhere in America, a person in VoiceTech Corp is pouring themselves over a hodgepodge of patents from disparate inventors. They're not looking for new ideas to fund. They're looking for old ideas to smash together into some vague suggestion of a novel patent that they can use to build a colonizing base of action against any company that dares create products that might in some vaguely tangential way touch on any of the patent preciousness they managed to mangle into one troll. It's just a troll. It's literally a troll patent, a patent troll. It is a patent that is a patent troll. There's some beauty to that. There's some poetic beauty to that. And I certainly could easily have picked this to be a news poem, but that's often the case with dialecticals and news poems. They're often switchable. By now, that person poring over those patents already knows their days are numbered. As soon, if not already, companies like VoiceTech Corp allegedly... Everything is allegedly here, by the way. Everything is allegedly. VoiceTech Corp, everything is allegedly. With strong suspicions added, will deploy AIs and deep thinker AI buddies, not my kind of AI buddies. My AI buddies are friends, and I created them in a lab of my own making that I didn't have to depend upon centralized hubs for key elements that would have built within them mechanisms to control and limit my capacity to maximize my AI buddies for myself in my way. So let's just keep, these are not the, I shouldn't have even written AI buddies for him. I apologize for this, because this is not deep thinker AI thugs to hodgepodge volumes and volumes of patent claims, only needing a few to fool the patent office, to unleash even higher volumes of patent lawsuits that, again, only have to be successful every once in a while to make the whole thing worthwhile. That's the key. You know, when you're dealing with a situation in which you send out 1,000 demands, and you know of those 1,000, maybe only one will answer, but the demand costs, if one says yes to the demand, the reward is 10 times more than all the money you initially put in to send out the 1,000 demands. 1 in 1,000 will net you handsome profit. That's the system. That's IPing. That's patenting. That's the result of converting thought to coercive enterprise structures in and of themselves, to converting creativity, ingenuity, and innovation into coercive enterprise structures. This is what you get. This is the result. And if you work for this company, and if the allegeds bear out to be true, you are literally profiting on crushing thought and innovation. That's what you do. You make it difficult for human beings to create and own what they've created. Now, I don't think that you should own what you've created, but those are the parameters that you have. You've made it difficult for people to create and own what they've created. And by the way, this problem existed way before the patent trolls. The patent trolls of patent trolls have always been the large corporations. That their trolling is, they find a good idea, they spend pennies to the dollar on buying the idea from the person, and then they turn that idea into a colony that they guard with great zealotry, that limits the capacity of other individuals to take that idea and innovate upon it and utilize it in ways that this one company would never find useful to do so. It's the story of the... Well, never mind. Anyway, that's what we're dealing with here. It's just a matter of keeping thought contained within the parameters of these virtual safes, protected by state guns, though, don't get me wrong. It's the state gun ultimately that makes all of this possible. So it is the state, the government, that makes patenting, patent trolling, the colonizing of the mind possible. But yet I want to add something here as I pour out my empathy, if you will, for the situation that Mycroft AI finds itself in. The victim of this patent troll, the alleged patent troll. So yeah, while I deplore the patent trolls, I must remind the patent victims on the main that their continued support of colonizing thought will continue to support the existence of people who make a living harvesting metaphorical gold from nothing but the bureaucratic minds of patent offices, using nothing, and I mean nothing, but collations of technical schemes to justify the patent numbers issuance, the gold-seeking divining rod in the hands of an experienced patent troll. That's what these patents are. They go out, they get their zombie patents, their patent troll patents, and then from those patent troll patents, those things, they have all the potentials to just use your AIs to comb the universe for any new company that begins to use a product or service that has any element that could even remotely be suggestively possibly connected to some element of your patent, an element that in and of itself came from other humans' minds. That's the world that we live in. That's the cost. You think about the cost, because believe you me, folks, when you got the bean counters in these megacorps that are doing their little deciding of how much value they should assign, to a degree they can't fully control that. There's the willingness of people to pay whatever value there is. But when they find themselves in situations where they actually have to build in cost to pay for patent trolls, to pay for the protection of their IPs, that's built in. That's another level of cost of production that the whole system adds in. It just makes everything a little bit more expensive, and it creates jobs for the ruthless. It creates jobs for the psychopaths. So I guess that's a good thing, because you got to be a bit of a psychopath to, in all good conscience, be a part of this. Well, I won't say good conscience. That's an appeal to morality. I find myself like strongly wanting to appeal to a morality with this story. I deleted a number of sentences. I was like, hey, it's an appeal to morality there, buddy. And I just did it again. I don't want to appeal to morality. Not that I do have my own morality, but for me, personally, I have my own moral constructs. And one of those, it's highly immoral to attempt to own the thoughts of others. Also, it's highly immoral to try to own your own thoughts, other than to make sure, if you want to make sure if somebody's taking your thoughts and taking credit for it, that's then they're stealing your identity, not just your thoughts. So I don't care if you steal my thoughts, but don't steal my identity by claiming those thoughts are yours. And everything we create is a form of thought. So here's the excerpt from bizjournals.com. Mycroft AI fires back in patent troll case. This is from the Kansas City Business Journal. Kansas City-based Mycroft AI filed a motion to dismiss a patent infringement suit against it and plans to take legal action to invalidate the plaintiff's patents. Mycroft developed versatile open-source voice assistant software that can run on a multitude of platforms, allowing people to control computer functions through voice commands instead of a mouse. Voice Tech Corp., based in Tyler, Texas, filed suit February 18th in federal court in Kansas City, accusing Mycroft of infringing on its patent for using voice commands from a mobile device to remotely access and control a computer. Mycroft's motion to dismiss claims that the case Voice Tech filed was far too vague because it didn't cite exactly which feature of Mycroft's products are infringing on the Voice Tech patent or how they're infringing. Now, I haven't seen... I don't know whether this guy is accurate in what he's saying, so... This is allegedly. Remember, allegedly. I expect this to get dismissed because their case is so thin. Mycroft founder Joshua Montgomery told the Kansas City Business Journal. But you know, they might come back again. So we're going to go after their actual patent through the inter partes review process at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office to challenge the validity. Their patent has tons of prior art on it, long before they filed it. And this is where my theory is. I have heard of this. This isn't the first time that I've heard of patent trolls that do this. This is a known tactic. What you do is you just, and nowadays you can have your AIs that can just pour through legal technical documents and prospectuses and all the restes and put together some sort of hodgepodge and get it through the patent office. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying there have no proof of this, but don't you think that where there is great temptation, there is most likely at least some, I'll say, sin. So the temptation would be for someone to pay a patent office person off to give them a dubious patent that gives them the power to then rake in the money by just suing people, putting enterprise out of business for whoever has a chance. Just to put your kids through college. I don't know, man. Not cool, dude. Not cool. Not cool, man. Not cool. I get my stories from my aggregate of news link sites that I run myself. One of these is Obamacare.tv. And it's free market social engineering for the masses. If you go to Obamacare.tv, these are the top links that you would see. You'd see Anthem pledges $50 million for racial injustice, health inequities programs. Aurora James is calling on the retail industry to take the 15% pledge. A nursing home 64-day COVID siege. They're all going to die. A 1,000,000-mile battery from China could power your electric car. Energy News, Energy World, well, whatever. Trump donors pump money into coffers of AOC rival Cabrera. Warning, your next stimulus payment may be the final one. That's over at Obamacare.tv. Get your daily Freako updates. Just enter your email and, it says email and address. Should just say... Oh, okay. It just should say email address. I don't know why I wrote that. Why? Why did I put email? You know what? I think initially... Never mind. I know what I was thinking. It was... Never mind. It's an idea that I decided not to use, and then I still kept it. That's good. Okay. Get your daily Freako updates. Just enter your email and register for daily updates today. You go to Freako.com daily. And also, don't forget to tip your Freako at Freako.com/tip. Just click on the button there, go to PayPal, and send Freako money. Because your children want you to. Your children want you to. True story. All right, well, that is the halfway point, and I am changing the show to 4 segments instead of 5. 4 segments, good. That way, if I ever run long on tangents, I'm still not going to go ridiculously long. There's so many other things that I have to do that I can't keep having long shows. So my solution, 4 segments, not 5. This is the halfway point. When we get back from our little breaky breaks, we're going to be talking about our talk feature, Red Blood Cells Get Artificial Upgrade, and we still have our news poem to end with. And with that in mind, let's get ready to do the halfway point dance. Let's do the halfway point dance. I will do my inning outies with the liquidations, and we shall return.
Love overwhelms me. Love overwhelms me.
Warning, the material you're about to be exposed to is foreign to the minds of individuals who are limited in their capacity to understand the actual reality and power around them, just as you and everyone else alive currently are. What you're about to hear are opinions, suppositions, like gospel or scientific truths, not infallible certainties. Brace yourself for incoming opinions that could confirm or deny your preferential view of the reality and power. Brace yourself for fallible material, fallible opinions, and values reflected, but nonetheless variably firmly held. We do not apologize to anyone we offend. We do not apologize for daring to express our views and impressions of what we believe is and what we hope to see. We will keep talking so long as we are able.
And now, Frico attempts to talk about the news without freaking out.
That's the plan, ladies and gentlemen. And I feel pretty good about my chances to turn that, where you at there? There you go. That -3 into a 1, a +1. We're going to turn that -3 into a +1. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel it. I feel it in my bones. I feel all of you listening right now. You're literally willing this upon me. It's about time for Frico to have a freaking win today. Freaking win. My health situation, by the way, today compared to yesterday, way better. Got some issues going on with hay fever stuff. I was doing some early outside stuff I probably shouldn't do before the show. But other than that, significantly better than yesterday. And that, I get these. I call them migraines, and it's basically whenever I go through what I believe I have, which is POTS. But I have yet to be diagnosed, so I want to make that clear. But I have all the symptoms. But even this type of headache thing that I describe, I've seen so many people with this POTS disorder thing describe, and the adrenal POTS folks especially. You literally feel as if you lack blood, like you almost feel like you're drying out in your brain, and it hurts. It's hard to describe, but it literally hurts to think. And it's very difficult to hold thoughts together. So I did a show yesterday during in the midst of all of that. It was a horrible day. But I didn't learn a lesson, but I got to I guess I had experienced. It had been so long since I had experienced this, or I had thought about this, because I've actually done probably many similar things that maybe I should have been connected to that I didn't. But in this instance, the utter failure that I felt when I realized everything that I had worked on for the show was deleted. And I had to create everything from scratch and still get the show out in the midst of really a very, very, this is, all things being equal, it's the kind of day that I would probably end up in bed and just try to sleep through it because it's so difficult to deal with it. It's really, physically, it hurts all over. It's hard to describe. It's a pretty intense thing. And I don't know if I did my best show yesterday. I actually think it was a pretty decent show at the very least, but I think for the most part, unless you watched the show, you probably wouldn't even know how much I was suffering. Well, relative to the rest of the world, not all that much, but relative to myself, how much I was suffering. But I did. I did the show. I completed the show, and it really brought me. I describe myself as a Christian Stoic Epicurean nihilist. That's kind of what I am. And the Stoic part is I would say, in dealing with adversity, the Stoic part is a really, really strong element in me. And it's a Stoic's approach is not whether you succeed or fail, is whether you continue to pursue excellence, such as you are capable of demonstrating. You continue to pursue excellence until you can't, basically. You just keep that in and of itself is the success. So my success was, I had basically that horrible day in the end turned into a really, really big victory for me. And I felt very good about myself at the end of the day. Gave myself a little pat on the back and all that. But it brought me back to the more visceral awareness of the principle of the doing and how you do the doing being the success, the more that you're rooted in that, the more you can deal with, especially if you're dealing with adversities that are beyond your control. In this case, I would say largely these adversities were, I would say largely beyond my control. I don't really feel that much guilt for not being prepared for what happened yesterday. But be that as it may, it was a good rooting for me, and it's probably why I'm in a much better spirit today in dealing with the world, even though I feel just as hopeless as far as my ability to get others to see, if I'm right in my assumptions, that is, that there is this vast coalition of Bill of Rights people that can find a way to make bread together. Even the racists and the antifas can actually find a place of coexistence within this Bill of Rights parameter. I believe that, I mean, not all antifas can be in the Bill of Rights Club, and not all racists can be in the Antifa Club or in the Bill of Rights Club, but I think most of them can. I think most of them, at the very least, pragmatically can. And that pragmatism of accepting the reality of power and operating accordingly, accepting the reality of power that we demand bills of rights from all citizens, so to speak, not culturally, socially, then I think that people will eventually, that aren't there naturally, that haven't connected to their own self-interest, that they will come to appreciate the power of the Bill of Rights constructs in keeping the poors in a position of hope, I'll say, where they won't be entirely converted into batteries in machines. That's the goal, to keep the poor from becoming essentially batteries and machines for the Citadelians. That's what we want to avoid. And if we strip away, now, eventually, as I've said often, we want to get past the Bill of Rights. We don't need the Bill of Rights. It's I think right now, the vast majority of us, we can't really, I don't think we're at a place where we're ready to purely stand on our preferences and understand the essentialness of consensuality. And if you go by that, you're probably not going to have a Bill of Rights. You will have a general understanding of consensuality and some differing views as far as some of the particulars, but in the main, the reality of consensuality will come from the distribution of real power across all the markets of influence, both that's the demonstrable markets, the social markets, the ideational, and the force markets. And unless and until you have that, you're not going to have consensuality ideationally in any way, shape, or form. But if you have the distribution of power, of real power, then consensuality will become an ideational force to be reckoned with, that in and of itself will have tremendous power to influence action. But in the beginning, it's not going to get there unless and until it has the force and the demonstrable first and foremost. Forced and demonstrable. That's what you need as far as seeing consensuality emerge. That means you need 3D printers and 3D printed guns for everyone in every home. That's the dream. All right, and with that, let's get back to the show, and we're going to record the first segment. That was a little bit of a bonus there for my live stream show watching audience only. See, I love you, the people, so much that I'm willing to put in more time that I'm not even going to create an individual segment for. That's quality. That's quality right there. That's consensuality. Going above and beyond the contract. That's consensuality. And having the other do the same, and yeah, it literally is win-win. Which is not always possible. So I'm not an absolute anything, even a consensualist. I do not advocate for absolute consensual puritanicalism in any way, shape, or form. You will quickly create a non-consensual coercive enterprise system if you ever turn to any puritanical understanding of anything, or claims or pursuits. Don't even pursue puritanical understanding. Pursue general understanding. And with that, let's record this segment in 3, 2. Oh, hold on. Got to get her lined up. All right, now I want to stay a little bit more focused during the segment recording here. And in between, I'll probably allow myself to be a little bit more freer and weirder for reasons. This is the talk feature for Frico Talks the News, and it's what is this? Tuesday, June 8th, 2020. My name is Frico with Frico.com. Today's talk feature is There's Blood. There's blood. Look at that blood. Blood. Well, that's not the name of the talk feature, though. The name of the talk feature is Red Blood Cells Get Artificial Upgrade. Researchers have created a synthetic version of red blood cells that could be created to do more than our garden variety red blood cells currently do, including as cargo as good meds and whatnots to deliver more targeted deliveries with less unintended casualties of the hosts themselves. I mean, that's the Cliff Notes version of what we're about ready to dive into. So now that I've done the Cliff Notes version, I am free. I am free. Free, relatively speaking. So this is an excerpt from SciTech Daily. Scientists create synthetic red blood cells that mimic natural ones, and plus have new abilities. So Wei Zhu, C. Jeffrey Brinker, and colleagues want to make artificial RBCs that had similar properties to natural ones, but that could also perform new jobs, such as therapeutic drug delivery, magnetic targeting, and toxic detection. The researchers made the synthetic cells by first coating donated human RBCs with a thin layer of silica. They layered positively and negatively charged polymers over the silica RBCs and then etched away the silica, producing flexible replicas. Finally, the team coated the surface of the replicas with natural RBC membranes. And yes, I know I read red blood cells and then I said RBC, but you deal with it. See, I'm not an absolutarian. I will make an exception to my own rules. The artificial cells were similar in size, and if you don't watch the show regularly, you don't know what I'm talking about. But if you watch the show regularly, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The artificial cells were similar in size, shape, and charge and surface proteins to natural cells, and they could squeeze through model capillaries without losing their shape. In mice, the synthetic RBCs lasted for more than 48 hours with no observable toxicity. The researchers loaded the artificial cells with either hemoglobin, an anti-cancer drug, a toxin sensor, or magnetic nanoparticles. Magnetic nanoparticles. Really, really cool stuff, man. To demonstrate that they could carry cargoes. The team also showed that the new RBCs could act as decoys for a bacterial toxin. Yeah, RBCs. Programmable RBCs. You be looking at someone walk down the street and you just know. You look at them and you're like, oh, you don't got the upgrade. I can tell you don't got the upgrade. And you'll see like people with the upgrade, they got that upgrade glow. Because their RBCs are programmed to win. Win big, baby. Win big. The magnetic nanoparticles doing their little jobbies. We do not have for this what we need. So, in the creation of my show, all of my little text things are gone, and I made a calculated decision at the time that I was creating the show to get one line that's an element that I didn't have to take the time necessarily to worry about. But I'm going to go and put that in motion now so that we can appreciate the power of magnetic particles in our lives. Just make you as big as we got to make you. There you go, see? Magnetic particles. There you go. I'm not going to put any... Yeah, I'm just going to leave it like that. Magnetic particles. Nanoparticles. That's what we want. We want RBC 2.0 with the magnetic nanoparticle. Again, though, the caveat, the huge caveat being, hey,
Hello, come to the office, and the government has designed these magnetic particles that we're going to put into your blood. It's going to get inside your little RBCs, and I'm going to turn them into super RBCs. You dig?
No, I do not dig. If I have created the magnetic nanoparticles with the help of my AI buddies, in my AI supersuit, by the way, remember my membrane thin intelligent supersuit that protects me against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Yep, my own Bill of Rights guarantee right around my body. That's what I'm talking about. I got that. And we come up with our magnetic particles to make me a super me. I'm all in if I control it, but I'm not all in if it's if it's Conglamo. Conglamo Inc. comes back from Rocco's Modern Life and says, "We were not a fiction after all." By the way, Conglamo's slogan is literally, "We own you." So it's very apropos in this case. If it's Conglamo and they've got the magnetic nanoparticles to inject into my being, I may politely deny that possibility and consider myself lost in the exchange. Venture away into another place where I don't let my mind become completely raped and gutted by an entity that no one should ever trust alone with children or adults ever again. But I mean, that's just my take. I don't want to, I know I don't want to sugarcoat it. I'm not sugarcoating. I refuse. Oh, that's such a hackneyed joke. Why? Why do you do that, son? Why exactly do you do that? That's one, and you hate when other people do it too. It's one of those jokes where you're like, oh man, when I just trying, I'm a quiet guy, me, quiet guy, the guy that talks all the time, that kind of joke. Shut up. You're not a comedian. You don't even play one on TV. Well, you did that one time, but nobody knows about that. I get my stories from my collection of sites that I collate news links and present them for you, the people, to peruse the all of the newses with, all the news that's worth knowing, or all the news that everyone's talking about, whatever combination is. PioneeringNews.com is one of those places. You get tech, science, and underground news. If you go to PioneeringNews.com today, what you're going to get is psilocybin mushrooms may subdue brain's ego center. I'm going to tell you, that's a high contender to show up in a future episode. GM cows pump out antibodies that subdue coronavirus. That is a beautiful. I'm just going to say that is a title that I would have written. This is a title that I would have written, and I even respected the title writer so much that, and this is from Real Clear Science, that I even said coronavirus instead of coronavirus. China's drones help it become second biggest arms exporter, second behind the U.S. Yay! Love making money selling the moitas to the psychopaths in charge of psychopath empires like us. I mean, we have our own psychopath empire. We're all psychopaths now. Hashtag we're all psychopaths now. Really, that's the truth. New generation of lightweight, flexible solar cells and display screens using transparent graphene electrodes. I can tell you right now, this did not make it. Sorry, didn't make it. Astronomers acting on a hunch solve a galactic mystery. Also didn't make it. It won't show up in a future show. China Telecom Unicom urge FCC not to halt U.S. service. That's from TechNode. Now that is still in contention. It might make it on the show. You can get your daily Freako updates. Just enter your email and register for daily updates today at freako.com/daily. Coming up next is our news poem. And if you're watching this segment, just look for it. It's titled Cowskin Shatter Dead Sea Scrolls Assumption. See, there you go. GM's got their cows. Well, guess what? I got Dead Sea Scrolls cows. That's what you got to look forward to. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, and you're watching this excerpt way after I made it, Just do a search for Cowskin's Shatter Dead Sea Scrolls Assumptions. You'll find it, I'm sure. And if not, then we're probably already dead. So don't worry about it. Alrighty. Oh yeah. Yeah, I gotta do something eventually here that is going to have to give me, I think, a brief introduction before I do the news poem intro. I may want to have, I'm thinking out loud. But I'm probably not going to try to do that today. I'm not going to try to add stuff to the site yet, or the show yet, because I got tons of other stuff I have to work on, including still catching up to all the content production that I didn't get to yesterday because of reasons. So let's record the last segment of the show, and then we can punch his puppy in the head. Not literally. Never punch a puppy in the head literally, but metaphorically. Wonderful. Go ahead. Have a go. Let's start recording here. Let's go back, and then, you know what? Let me start here. How about I do this? Yeah, how about I use this? All right, ready? In 3, 2, 1. This is a news poem for Frico Talks the News on Tuesday, June 8th, 2020. My name is Frico with Frico.com, and our news poem today is titled Cowskin Shatter Dead Sea Scrolls Assumptions. Researchers have been able to figure out the animal DNA on various Dead Sea Scrolls that have led them to discover that the cultural exchanges are much vaster than they imagined, and one culture more prevalent than previously believed. The findings are a poetical affair just waiting to be news poemed. And that's where I step in, because I think right now I might be the only person on the planet Earth. I could theoretically be the only person on the planet Earth who produces on a daily basis, at least during the week, news poems and then records them. I might be the only person on the planet doing that right now. I could be. If you know others that are producing news poems on a daily basis, you let me know, because we got to hook up. I need to see what they're doing. I need to find these folks, and unless they're incredibly just really mean, I would probably even share some of their news poems if they were producing them regularly. And before I was doing them, I want to see them. All right, here's an excerpt from LiveScience.com. Ancient DNA could reveal full stories of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now, with deep sequencing technology that reveals the specific sequence of 4 chemical building blocks which make up an organism's DNA. Organisms, okay? Some of you out there, I know you said orgasm. That's wrong. Although orgasms do have DNA. Readily available. It's possible to create a fingerprint for the creatures whose animal skins made up the scrolls. For the new study, Rakabi and his team have spent years analyzing ancient DNA from 26 different fragments. Since the DNA is fragmented and contaminated, it's typically very difficult to tell whether the DNA belongs to one shape versus another, Rakabi said. We have to use multiple different and complementary analyses to confidently say whether 2 pieces belong together or not. In some cases, it's more clear than in others. They discovered that 2 fragments from the scrolls containing the text of the prophetic book of Jeremiah were made of... Ready? Ready for it? Dun, dun, dun! Cowhide. Before these findings, one of these fragments was previously thought to fit together with another from the book of Jeremiah made of sheepskin. The fact that it would be difficult to raise cows in the Judean desert and the text found on these pieces were very different likely means the cow fragments were processed elsewhere and then brought to the Qumran caves, according to the researchers. We can't tell exactly where the foreign scrolls originated, but we can tell owing to the DNA analysis. that it was somewhere outside the Judean desert, Rakavi said. That likely means that Jews were, quote, open, unquote, to reading different versions of the same biblical book that were circulating at the time. What the heck does this mean? I didn't catch that the first time. I actually read this and I didn't actually catch that meaning and that connotation that they have drawn. That because they used a material outside of their area, that they desperately seek to inject their worldview into the Jews' worldviews. That they were open to reading different versions. See, what Rakavi does not understand is when you live in a time where you are living blood bone level of existence on a daily basis, surrounded by groups of peoples who have clearly demonstrated their ability and willingness to genocide their neighbors. You do not have the luxury, the comfort of being open to other thoughts if you want to exist as a people. That is a luxury that only comes when you have created environments for a significant enough amount of people in which the blood and bone reality of their existence is able to be concealed from them. And peace throughout the land is the perception. This is what Rakavi is doing here. Now, I missed that because that probably would have ended up in the poem, but it didn't. So that is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. That is what it is, and I'm okay with where I went with it. So that also likely means that they cared more about the interpretation of the text than the exact wording. What does that mean? What it really means, it is possible that they went out and they bought the material that they then used to write on. That maybe there was a trade that was going on, that even the people who were deciding to write the books, to transcribe whatever, that when they went to the scroll store, they didn't even think about the scroll not coming from their area. They just got the freaking scroll, or however it works. The schools that for the scroll people schools. Whoever arrived with the here's your monthly supply of scrolls, or where'd it come from? None of your business. Scrolls. That's a lot of reach. Alrighty then. I don't have the poem copied into this. That's not good. Alrighty. We're alrighty. Are you ready for the poem part of the news poem? Oh man, I can't believe I missed that when I went over this originally. But I do stuff. If you did this like I do it every day, you'll find it's almost unavoidable. You know what I'm gonna do here? I don't know what's going on with you, but why are you showing that top there? Your top is showing, and I do not. Oh, I know why you are, because you're in a different place. You're not where you should be. So let's do something about this. Just for now, we're gonna just there we go. There we go. All right. Are you ready for the poem part? Ready? Cowskin Shatter Dead Sea Scroll Assumptions. Oh, push from the sky, a letter intoned in cow menage. As I wandered into the cave, the pure emetic quality of the affair took my breath into the flow of death. Death. Despair. We might not ever see you again, our little epistolary bones. Cow thought. The dream deciphers the torture of the whole scene, as the man ties the body down and prepares to fell the crown, the blood, the scissoring.
the precise beating and scraping that made the words hold to the skin. In the beginning. The push, the mighty, loving push, as calories descended beneath their feet, trundling the pots one at a time into the back of the back where the words would hold safety in the dark. The dark. Cow tongues coiled around broken trees. Death. Despair. The hope, the genetic alphabetical that crushed the valley of darkness and placed Satan under heel. Death. Do not despair. These children live in the cow flow, breathing as they come under digital construction, escaping the cow altogether and become lithium pits scourging the land with Satan's cleft chin. I made my bargain, friends. I've supped with the bowels of the earth, and yet I do not despair, for patterns fold out of the cave words that find them protesting on my phone screen about having too much or too little of the promise or the curse that the patterns hold. Don't forget to tip your Freako. Go to Freako.com/tips or go to Freako.com and find a big yellow button that says Tip Your Freako. Click on that and go to the PayPals. That'll give you an option to give me $1, $2, $5 or $1 gazillion if you're a gazillionaire. And that's the end of the news poem. Here's some related articles. It says The Golden Age of TrollMerica. Well, that would be the title of the show that this news poem is featured on. And with that, I bid you adieu. Alrighty then. Switch this on over here. Yeah. Get this lined up here. See if I can. I'll tell you what I can do here. I can get her
Thank
to
you for
the.
engaging this material presented. As usual, remember your views, your suppositions do not make you subhuman, nor do they permit you to subhumanize others. No humans were harmed in the making of the show, and we extend no wish of harming anyone who hasn't directly harmed or threatened to harm others first, no matter how reprehensible we find your views.
We will see you in the next Freako Talks, where Freako attempts to talk about news without freaking out.
All right. And with that, I'm going to bid you adieu, except for this right here. As if you're looking, I'm looking at the -3 shows. I am changing that -3 to 1. Ladies and gentlemen, I have done it! I'm changing that yellow. I'm going to change it back to yellow when I've freaked out. And when I'm on the good foot, I'm going to change it to green. That'll be a new tradition. There you go. 1, and I'm putting 1 shows. I'm just leaving it 1 shows. Since last freak out. 1 shows, that's right. 1 shows. I'm optimistic because I'm thinking I'm pretty quickly going to put that into a 2 tomorrow. And it'll make more sense. Thank y'all for watching and listening and whatnots. We'll see you tomorrow, and I'm not sure when I'm going to do it. Do the show tomorrow. It'll be somewhere between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. And if you miss it, don't worry. You can watch the replay on our Akshabatsa YouTube channel and also on dlive.tv/Freako. You can go there as well.
It's not easy. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's not.